What's up everyone? Looking for a quick dinner? Give this a shot. This butter chicken meal is so good yet so easy, you'll make it a regular at home. To get started, sift 120 grams of cake or bread flour, 5 grams of baking powder, 5 grams of caster sugar, and 2 grams of salt in a large bowl. Give that a mix to combine before adding 62 milliliters of milk and 30 milliliters of oil. Roughly mix that until combined before emptying everything out onto your counter. Press this together until the dough combines and you can begin kneading it. Knead this for roughly 10 minutes to allow the gluten to develop before rolling this into a ball. Drop the little guy into an oiled bowl and move it around to coat it with the oil. Cover with cling wrap and let it rest for 30 minutes. Grab 300 grams of chicken fillets and cube these. Traditionally, butter chicken is made with more ingredients and the chicken needs to be marinated. It's then grilled and added to a sauce which have even more spices. We're taking a different approach. This is more of a cheat. It's much faster but still offers a ton of flavor. By the way, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe for more recipes. If you don't have cashew and almond paste, you can make your own by adding equal parts of raw cashew and almonds into a container and topping that off with water. Some methods call for hot water here, but I found that cold water works just fine. I chose to use 20 grams each of raw, unsalted cashews and almonds. Don't get the flavored stuff or it'll interfere with the flavor of the sauce later on. Let that soak for 30 to 45 minutes before draining. Don't throw the water away, you'll need it a bit later on. Throw this into your grinder or pestle and mortar. Grind this down into a paste, adding water as needed. I wanted mine to have a few chunks to give the sauce a bit of texture, so I didn't overdo it with the grinding process. The paste is completely optional. If you don't have the ingredients to make the paste, you can leave it out and simply proceed with the rest of the recipe as is. I've tried it and it's perfectly fine. Grab a medium pot, preheat it before adding a tablespoon each of oil and butter and stir until melted. Add the mustard seeds and let those begin to pop. I was a bit excited and accidentally added the onions first. I just had to forgive myself for the travesty and added the mustard seeds a short while later. The onion, who skipped the cue, has been finely diced and should have gone in at this point and not earlier. The onion would have been added with the chili and cumin seeds and sautéed until the onions had turned translucent. I, however, for this instance, skipped the chili as I was using a curry powder which I found to be quite strong. I was afraid the heat would overpower everything and in the end, omitting the chili was a good idea. If the curry or chili powder that you're using isn't something that's been produced in the fires of hell, or you generally love spicy food, add the chili. You can always play around with the recipe to find the right balance for yourself. Moving on. Let's add the ground ginger and garlic and let that go for another 60 seconds. I know most don't keep this on hand. Try to use the fresh stuff. It really does make a difference in the flavor profile. However, if you don't have it, don't worry, just use the pre-ground stuff. You'll still get great results. Our spice mix for this is quite simple. We're adding 3/4 of a teaspoon of cumin powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of coriander powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of turmeric powder, and a teaspoon and a half of curry powder. Combine well and let that cook for 1 to 2 minutes. You should make sure your heat is on a medium-low so that you don't burn the spices. Add 125 grams of diced tomatoes, stir that well before adding 4 tablespoons of our cashew almond paste and let that cook for 2 to 3 minutes on medium-high. Toss the chicken in and mix well to make sure everything is properly coated. I know the purists out there will probably want to hang me for doing this, but hear me out. This is a quick method for those wanting a tasty meal after work for themselves or the family. It's super easy and doesn't require much work. This isn't traditional, but it's definitely worth a try. Cover and let this cook down for 6 to 8 minutes. Pull the lid off and you're greeted with an incredible smell, an amalgamation of spices coming together to wake your senses up. That smell. Okay, give that a stir and pour in 170 milliliters of fresh or heavy cream and mix well to combine. By now, the smell must really be tempting you to dig in, but don't rush this. Let the flavors develop. Use your spoon to scrape the sides of the pot, bringing all those bits back into the sauce. At this point, you'll see the sauce starting to look a lot more like butter chicken should, however very chunky. This is fine. Remember, this is a cheat method, so instead of blending the sauce into a smooth creamy mix, we're just going with it as is. Look, if you want, go ahead. You can blend the sauce, but to do that, you'd have to fry your chicken separately and then add it to the sauce after the blend session. Turn the heat down, cover and let this simmer for 10 to 15 minutes to allow everything to come together before seasoning with salt to taste. At this point, you could probably call it a day and serve it up with some rice and you'd be praised by your friends and family alike for creating such an amazing dinner. But if you have the time, why not make the naan? Start by preheating your oven to 200 degrees Celsius or 390 Fahrenheit. Coriander is one of those herbs that just belong here. It's fragrant and elevates the dish to a whole other level. Finally, dice 100 grams of it and set this aside to be used later on. Grab the dough that's been resting and remove the cling wrap, plop it onto a lightly floured surface. For those that want to kill me for doing this, yes, I'm using my cleaver here. I was careful though, so don't freak out. I applied just enough pressure here to cut the dough, no damage to the blade. Cut the dough into 4 portions. You don't have to be too precise here, but if you want, whip out the scale. Have at it. Using a rolling pin, press the dough down to flatten it a bit before you roll it out. A simple back and forth motion will do just fine. Roll these out into flat discs that are somewhat oval in shape, roughly 2 to 3 millimeters thick. Technically, the naan should be a teardrop shape. However, if you've just gotten home from work at 6 p.m., your kids are howling and you're hungry, pretty much any shape is perfect here, so don't stress too much. If you have the time, go for it. If not, don't beat yourself up about it. Traditionally, naan is made in a tandoor, which can reach temperatures of up to 480 degrees Celsius or 900 degrees Fahrenheit. The chances of you having a tandoor at home are slim, so we'll just use our regular oven for this. Give them a light dusting of flour before setting them aside to prevent the dough from sticking to the surface. Repeat this process for the rest of the balls and you should end up with 4 portions of naan. Dust your baking tray with flour and place the naan on it. Place the baking tray in the oven for 90 seconds and you're all set. For this one though, I wanted to make something different. Crispy naan. I don't know if it's been done before, but it was worth a shot. I left the naan in for a bit longer, roughly 5 minutes before brushing them with the garlic butter mixture, which was just 2 cloves of garlic diced, mixed with 60 grams of melted butter and 20 grams of coriander. That's it. I placed it back under the broiler for 30 seconds longer and we're all set. The 4th naan was left in for 90 seconds, which gave me a more traditional soft texture. Place a few spoons of butter chicken on your plate before adding your fresh naan and topping it off with some chopped coriander. After all that, it's time to admire your work and tuck in. I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I did. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos in the coming weeks. Thanks for watching everyone. I'll see you next time.